Right now it's time to kick out the jams, motherfucker!
Now the pitch.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Machtails from the Cantina. Another round of podcast edition of this show. Episode number 200. Yes, 200 episodes. Here we are during the week of October 27th, being recorded on Halloween afternoon. Got a great live show coming up tonight. Craig Miller is joining the show once again, and I also have some really good friends on. Brother Brian Klein, Barry Harmon, and Rich Brendel will all be joining the show. Halloween special, but I am not here to talk about the Halloween special. I am here to talk about episode number 200. Now, I want to thank every one of you for sending in your audio greeting card. It means a lot to me that you had taken the time to do this for me. I love doing this show. I don't know if I'm going to make it to 400. I am not, right now, like I said, going to Nashville was the spark that I needed to get back into this show. I felt like I was taking a little bit of a downward spiral, if you will. Thinking that the show might not go on. You know, when you don't have anybody to answer to, except for you guys, the audience, which is a huge part of this show, it makes it a lot easier. There's nobody to fight with. There's nobody to say, hey, I can't do the show tonight. I can't do the show this week. It's all on me. Now, I will tell you that I do not do this show 100% by myself. I do the show sometimes with Brother Brad Riverdale. I do the show with brother producer Matthew Rooney. And David Gladding will jump on from time to time, Brother Rich Brendel, so on and so forth. Now, we're going to hear a nice greeting from producer Suds, who always sounds so nice. He's got the equipment that I don't have that I should have. Suds had joined the show on December 31st, 2021. I was standing on the beach of Maui, and I noticed that on New Year's Eve, somebody joined as a producer. And I was so excited about that. I get excited when I have new people on, jump on board, because it is a very, very slow growing community, if that's what you want to call it. A lot of you people that send me your greetings, you keep telling me about this community. Look, I'm talking into a microphone by myself. There isn't really any community that I necessarily feel. Now, I will tell you guys amongst yourselves, the relationships that you might have formed outside of this show, that's one thing. And I will tell you that I was friends with a lot of you before I even did this show. Some of you I've become friends with because I've done this show. So, come to think of it, yes, there is a little sense of community here. But see, now I have to backtrack, right? And I hate doing the show by myself. It strains my voice. It is hard for me to weave my thoughts by myself. Like I said, I do this show a lot with my eyes closed because I'm always trying to stay on target. and to get my thoughts across. And then, another thought comes from this side of my brain, and so on and so forth. And the next thing you know, I find myself all over the place. So for me, this show, it's therapeutic. It's a way for me to get my thoughts across. My wishes for this show on a personal level is something that my daughter can listen to when I am dead and gone. I don't think I've ever shared that before. And a lot of that comes from the video that I have of my dad. My grandma, bought 8mm cameras for her kids and wanted to make sure that they filmed their kids, their granddaughters. My mom, for a short while, had an audio tape recorder purchased from the Radio Shack. I have cassette tapes of audio of my mom and my dad and me and my grandparents and that sort of thing. I have to get those digitized because I know I have them. I'm not 100% sure if I could find them quickly. But I kind of grew up in this, documentary mindset of my family. Photos, video, audio, that sort of thing. What I do wish, and I know Brother Brandon Wolgast has always said that these interviews that I get with these Star Wars celebrities, they need to make sure that they last. They need to make sure that they are preserved. They need to make sure that they are heard. But my theory and mentality here, right now, is I'm keeping the high quality content behind the paywall because you guys are paying for it. And that goes back to something Brother Barry Harmon had said. By the way, we're going to hear from him in a little bit. He was Patreon member number 2. Andy from Miami was Patreon member number 1. Producer now. Barry was the one that said, you know what? If you have 30 listeners and they're all paying for it, he said he would rather recommend that formula than having some fly-by-night YouTube channel that's got 50,000 views that essentially, when they stop doing what they do, a lot of those guys copy and paste the news. I feel like, those people might not be remembered tomorrow. Whereas a lot of you people are here, especially Andre Wolf, who had found me because he had discovered the real fans of the saga on Amazon. So the fact that I'm even doing a 200th episode, it does feel good, and it does feel like an achievement. And again, I really hope that my daughter will listen to this audio someday. My wife has not heard one podcast episode in its entirety. Maybe someday she will want to. The thing that drives me crazy about the show, not only doing it by myself, but doing it by myself most of the time. I do not want to take away the fact that some of you guys have spent several episodes on this podcast series. I don't feel like everybody that is paying for this, and I've said it before, is necessarily listening to all this. And you know what? Mind you, I am making this episode number 200 podcast available to not everybody, but to the people that have taken the time to sign up for free on Machtails. Now, you guys don't get access to much, if anything at all, but you're getting access to this episode. And I just encourage you guys to, join the community and partake in, my stories, my take on Star Wars. We do have a dash of baseball and a pinch of music, or maybe that's the other way around. We're mostly Star Wars, mostly. But there are how many free members do we have? We have 17 free members on Mocktails from the Cantina Patreon. 17! Now, you guys missed out on the $2 tier. I got rid of that. That was just the podcast episode. Some of you guys are still part of that. But I just released a bunch of great audio and I'm in the middle of that, from ICCCon down in Nashville. And like I said, this was the spark, the rebirth that was needed to keep the show going, possibly for at least another 100 episodes. But what I don't like is the fact that not everybody is listening to the show. I don't want to exclude those of you that are listening, but I would appreciate it if everybody that, has been a Patreon member for so long. I mean, this goes back to January 2021. Some of you guys pay monthly, and some of you guys just don't take advantage of your membership. And I know some of you guys don't listen because we're going to hear a couple greetings, and I don't want to call them out specifically by any means because they are friends of mine. But you could just tell by their comments, their greeting, their well wishes, that they don't listen to the podcast show. Simply because we are celebrating podcast episode number 200. We're not celebrating the live show. We're not celebrating the Wampa Cave on this episode. This is just to celebrate the 200th podcast episode. Now, inside the Wampa Cave segments, those, of course, focus on my Star Wars collection. And that should be at 200, but I think that's stuck at like 186, 187. They do take a little bit more time to produce. We were supposed to announce a third and final season of Mocktails from the Cantina. We have not done that yet. So we will. That's how you know the end is somewhat near. When we announce the third and final season, last call. So you can thank Brother Barry Harmon for Brother Barry Harmon for not being on top of getting me that art design that I asked him, that I sent to him anyway, several months ago. Some of you find this show educational, such as Brother Brandon Wolgast. I appreciate that, man. You know what? That speaks volumes. One, it's you're tuning in, you're listening to the episodes, and you're taking away something, which you are taking away knowledge, which is priceless. Now, sure, it's pop culture / baseball / music related, which at the end of the day probably is not going to make a world of a difference in your life, but it's fun to be knowledgeable, and it's fun to learn about these kind of things. Useless information that we love so much. But anyways, we're going to hear from brother and producer Suds first. Again, sounding so good. I do have to make a note that every time I think of Suds and hear his voice, I think of standing on the beach in Maui. Obviously, you could tell Suds listens to the show as well, simply from his opening and closing, my trademarks, if you will. A lot of you guys have also learned about me through this show. And I like Suds is gonna set up, not everybody has time to hang out and catch up, and this is a good way for you guys to listen to me. That way, when I get to see you guys, those of you that listen to this show, you can tell me about your life because you already know most of everything about me just from this show. As you know, it is a very, very personal podcast, and I like to think that I speak my mind relatively freely. A big shout out to the producers, though. You guys, the producer level, some of you guys produce segments such as Matthew Rooney and Suds in the past did an Inside the Vault segment on the Force Among Us podcast series that cannot be found anywhere online. We're actually able to tap deep into the vaults for that. So, and you know what? Some of you guys producing, you are contributing on a financial level, and I cannot thank you enough for that. The bad thing about, getting together with people, I went out with brother Tyler Page, and I told him a lot of stories that are in the last podcast episode. So it is a spoiler alert for some of you that I spend some time with, such as Brad, such as Tyler, Rich, so on and so on. So, well, hey, let's get the greetings rolling. We're going to hear from producer Suds first, followed by brother Brad Riverdahl, and then Matthew Rooney. You know the voice. He did not identify himself, but he is after Brad.
Wow. Mocktails from the Cantina, the podcast edition of this show, is coming up on episode number 200. Wow, 200 episodes. Seems like just yesterday, episode number 100 was dropping, and of course, that's not the case. Looking back at the archives, podcast episode number 100 dropped on December 1st, 2022, almost 2 years ago. And I gotta say, it really amazes me that week in and week out, Chris, you're able to do this show and roughly an hour of content each week, basically on your own. Most of the great broadcasters have somebody else in the studio with them behind the microphone to keep the conversation going. For example, Howard Stern had Robin Quivers, Steve Dahl had Gary Meyer back in history, and now has Doc Julin and Brendan Greeley. It amazes me that you're able to do this basically on your own for the most part. And I've learned so much about you over these 200 episodes, and it's like being able to have a conversation with you every week, which is great because our lives all get busy and we're not able to hang out as much as we would probably like to. But I gotta say, man, I really enjoy the podcast episodes. It is probably my favorite part of the content. I mean, everything else is great, but my favorite part of the content are these podcast episodes, because it really gives us a look into, what's going on in your life and in the world in general. And it's always a good listen. So once again, congratulations on episode number 200. And I got to ask you, are we going to go for 300? So long, everybody.
Chris, Machtails from the Cantina. Looks like we were doing this about 2 years ago, wishing you a happy 100th episode. And now we're at 200, and that's pretty awesome. What a accomplishment, and any 200 of anything is an accomplishment. So especially when it's full of awesome content that you provide, and we all appreciate it. This is Brad, the resident Death Star gunner, by the way, and dare I say, let's go to 300, 400? Anyways, thanks for all the content, and thanks for all you do, and allowing me to be a part of it from time to time as well. Cheers.
Hey, Christian, congratulations on reaching podcast number 200. I think I came on board around podcast number 70, and it's hard to believe that it's already been more than half of the time of the show's duration, just because it seems like there was so much already out there by the time I came around. I want to say thanks for letting me be a part of the Machtails family and letting me contribute to shows and putting together content. I always wanted to be part of a podcast or some kind of a campaign about fandom, and I look forward to working with you more and developing other projects along the way. May the force be with you.
Hey Chris, it's Brandon coming at you while driving. I don't think I've ever done that before, but I got to catch up with you in terms of how many either videos or audio stuff I've done while in the car. But just wanted to congratulate you on 200 episodes. That is crazy. I would say let's hope for 200 more, but let's hope for 800 more to get us to 1,000. I just want to thank you for everything you've done, not just for the Star Wars community, but you know what? You know me, and anyone who's ever heard anything I've ever said knows me. I'm not the biggest baseball fan or even music fan, but thank you for what you've done for the baseball and music community. I've learned a lot, more than you'd probably think I've learned. So thank you for that as well. And yeah, you've just built an awesome community, and I hope it gets bigger, even if it's just single person by single person. Just an amazing community in general, which you really can't get much anymore. Blogs, vlogs, Facebook pages, YouTube channels, podcasts. Very, very few are overwhelmingly positive and encouraging and inclusive and everything like that, all those good words. But it's true, very few are, and you're one of the few. So I'm thankful that I found you years and years and years ago. I can't wait to continue to support you, and I hope more people support you in the future. But again, congratulations on 200 episodes. I'll cut this short, far shorter than I normally do. I can go on and on for another 20 minutes. But again, thank you. Thank you to you. Thank you to Machtails. And yeah, thank you. And here's to you. When I'm home later on, I'll have a whiskey in your honor, and just 200 episodes. That's amazing.
Hey, Chris, happy 200 episodes. This is Barry Harmon from the Babu Freaks.
Hi, Babu Freak.
And I just want to say, I can't believe you did it.
Hey!
Thought you'd tap out at 2, but here you are at 200. So I guess you got to keep going because we got to hit that 1,000, baby. All right. Congratulations.
Hey,
Chris, this is Tyler. Congrats on 200 episodes. Takes a lot of work, a lot of dedication to get there. Most podcasts don't make it past 10 episodes. So you've already beaten a lot of people out, and just couldn't be more proud of you and the community that you've created and all the work that you've put into this. So take a moment to celebrate and keep on chugging, buddy.
Well, Beer, we've had some great times.
Hey, Machtails. That's your old friend, Drunkle Richie here. I love listening to your podcast while laying drunk and naked on the floor. It feels like a warm, fluffy blanket to warm my hurting soul. Keep on drinking. Amen to that.
Sometimes life is like a baseball game, I'm going home. Sometimes life is like Christmas Eve when you're all alone. Sometimes you're surrounded by your family and friends. And sometimes life is like a mystic force that never ends. But when I'm grateful for all the things that are good in my life, I've just got to raise a glass, say amen to that. Yeah, I've just got to raise a glass, say amen to that.
Hey, it's Glenn Nelson. A shout out to my brother Chris Macht. Congratulations on your 200th episode of Machtails from the Cantina. Has it been this long? I can't believe it. It feels like yesterday that we were talking about Star Wars, Walking Dead, Toys R Us, all kinds of incredible things, projects that we've collaborated on, gigs that we played together. The Con Men was a sensational experience. I loved doing that with you. I look forward to many more gigs like that in the future. You played awesome. And I loved when you sang The Way of Qui-Gon Jinn. Happy 200th episode. Mocktails from the Cantina. Signing off, Glenn Nelson. Bye.
Well, because Rich is a producer of the show, we got to give him a mulligan. So here it is.
Hey, Mocktails, it's Rich Brundle here. Happy 200th episodes. It's amazing how something that emerged as a way to get people through the COVID pandemic has become the podcast that we all love. Keep on going another 200 and don't change a thing.
Hey, Chris, this is Cody Mallwalker Moore, show producer for Mocktails from the Cantina. Just wanted to congratulate you on 200 episodes of the podcast. That's a great milestone. I'm excited to see the next 100 to 200 more. My favorite thing about the podcast and about the community in general is the community itself and all the other members, and everybody's different take on Star Wars and their own unique collections. Thanks, and look forward to more.
Hey, Chris, this is brother Brian V. Klein of the Babu Freaks podcast.
Yes, amor.
And the Source Pages podcast. And the Timey Wimey Talk podcast. And the Sacred Jedi Text podcast. Wow, I do a lot of podcasts.
Oh, boy.
But I'm here to congratulate you on your 200th episode of Mocktails from the Cantina. I remember when you were gestating this whole process of starting the Kickstarter and then the Patreon and then the podcast. I can't speak right now, but hopefully, I know that you've had some thoughts about ending the show, maybe, but hopefully you get 200 more. Here's to it. Whenever you want me on, just give me a call.
Hello, I Bubble Freak.
Hi Chris, this is your friend and supporter Dave from Florida. Congrats on your 200th podcast. That's quite the milestone. My favourite episodes are the ones where you have members of the Mocktails community on, like the recent episode with John Drake, chatting about the Alien franchise. And while I've only met a few members in person, like Andy, Brad, Tyler and yourself, I feel like I know the rest of the crew just from listening to them talk on your show. I also really enjoy the extended exclusive interviews from Inside the Vault, especially the interviews with like Robert Watts and Jim Bloom. They were fantastic. Well, congratulations again, and I look forward to seeing you soon, my friend. Bye-bye.
What's up, Chris? JT, John Drake here from the Nerf Herder Council. Just wanted to send out huge congratulations to you on hitting 200 episodes. As someone who has been doing my own show since December of 2015, I know the time and energy and dedication it takes to make it that long doing one show. It's difficult to continually come up with content. It's difficult to always have cool guests on. And sometimes it's difficult to retain your passion for it. And you've definitely done all of that in spades. And the show is awesome. You know, I'm a huge fan of what you're doing. And that's why you and I jump on each other's shows whenever we have time to do so. But yeah, I just think your show is amazing. It's so much fun to watch. It's, you know, something where you can tell you're not going for clickbait. It's you and your buddies hanging out, drinking some beer. You don't pull any punches. If you drop an F-bomb, you drop an F-bomb. It's just a really natural, fun, flowing show. And it is not surprising to me that something like that has now hit 200 episodes. So again, man, congratulations. I am so happy for you. And here's to 200 more. And man, I'm so happy for you, dude. It's awesome that, you know, we've built a great friendship out of this, you know, us both having shows. And who would have thunk all those years ago when I ran into you at random on a plane on the way home from celebration that you had no idea who I was, and I knew who you were. And now here we are all this time later, and I'm leaving you a congratulatory message on 200 episodes of Mocktails from the Cantina. Star Wars rules, doesn't it? What a beautiful thing. So anyways, man, once again, congratulations. And as you would say, cheers. And here's to another 200 plus, man.
Chut, Chris. Wow, congratulations. 200 episodes. That is so awesome. I really enjoy your podcast and the Wampa Cave and the interviews. You're really good at your craft. Very informative. And it might take me a while to get caught up, but eventually I do. It turns into a binge listen or a binge watch. But thanks for the information that I learn, and your interviews are great. I also wanted to say that because of your creation, we have a fun little community here in this Mocktails from the Cantina group. Everybody's really nice. Everybody's level-headed. You can have a good conversation, and nobody's judging anyone. And I think that's really cool about our little group. And thank you for that. And cheers to 200 more, my friend.
Hey, Chris, this is John Zancanero. I just wanted to say congrats on hitting 200 podcast episodes. As you know, I really enjoy your podcast. It gives me a window into your life. If it's Star Wars, baseball, or whatever else, you always seem to have something great to say. Keep up the great work, and I can't wait to keep listening.
Hey, everybody, this is Dan.
And Ian, and we want to congratulate Chris Mocked on 200 episodes.
Yay! Congratulations, buddy. We're really proud of what you've done and all the things that you've done so far, which has been great.
Yeah.
You know, and Ian, I mean, I love listening to what he does and the people that he records.
Yeah, no.
The guests that he has are pretty unbelievable.
No, yeah, over the years it's been crazy who he's been able to interact with, and
Right.
I mean, and if you know Chris, it's really shouldn't be a surprise. The places he finds himself, for these interviews, but yeah, it's been awesome to just basically peek into the cave, the Wampa Cave, for all these years.
The Wampa Cave, yes.
Yes, it's 200 episodes, but it seems like it's been going on for a lot longer.
It's probably true.
Yeah, no, and I just love just getting a take. And I mean, I've seen the Wampa Cave myself in person, but it's always great, like the stories you get about things. Like, it could be one figure off the shelf, and that was a whole event and a whole interaction. That I just love it, man.
Yeah. You know what I really enjoy is actually when he does the live recordings, when he goes to the conventions and he actually walks around and interviews some of the guest celebrities that are there for autographs and everything. And him, pretty much the same thing as you would say. Is that, a peek behind the curtain with these celebrities.
Yeah,
And,
I think you helped him out at ICCC 2023, 22. And then, and then he had, it was like he doubled down after that experience and got so much great stuff this past year with Matt on the mic and kind of wrangling him around. But yeah, no, it's been so great to basically like dip in to the ultimate collector's cave. I think he needs to be part of the Saga Museum.
Yeah, I know. That's no joke. I mean, the stuff that he has in there is unbelievable, and I really appreciate the videos that he does in the Wampa Cave, kind of showing what he has in the back, and there's some things that I've never even seen before, which makes his collection unique.
Dude, and even stuff I've seen a million times. I bought the Ewok, the play set.
Right.
God, I'm blanking now, but yes. And then I was like, he's like, of course I have it. You've looked at it a million times. It's been right. But it's like part of this giant museum in his basement that, you could overlook it easily and be like, wait, how did I miss that?
Right. So yeah, anyways, you know what? Once again, Chris, congratulations for 200 episodes. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
We're proud to actually be there from the ground, and just amazing the things that you do.
Yeah, man. And please keep going. It's tons of fun. And the community surrounding it, and all of our buds and everybody. It's great that you've created
a hub of fandom on your own, your own
That's right.
specific corner of fandom, Chris. And
I know this is your documentary that will never end.
yes, exactly. We've been filming this for 15 years now. But no, Chris, keep it up. We all love you for it. And thank you very much, sir.
Have a good one. Here's the 200 more.
Hello, this is Dale from Denver, and I'm still absolutely loving the content on Mocktails. I enjoy the incredible insights on Star Wars, collecting, baseball, and even the music-centric episodes. The content is still educational, thought-provoking, and even inspirational to me, as I've also stepped up the sharing of my collection with daily Instagram posts at Dale's Toys. So congrats, Chris, on 200 episodes, and keep up the great work.
So again, thank you to everybody for your Mocktails from the Cantina podcast episode number 200. Greetings and wishes. I know we wanted to, I know I wanted to hear from Andy from Miami, but look, I get it. He just had the new addition to the family. He went down to, or I should say up to Tampa St. Pete when we had that bad hurricane. Unfortunately, take the roof off of the Trop. We will talk about that on a future episode. But I get it, man. Andy's been really, really busy. So again, Patreon member number 1, he is. And he has said before, along with some of you guys, thank you for everything that I do for the fans. Now, I am flattered because I do this as an expression of my fandom. I am not doing this. I don't want to say I'm not doing this for the fans. I'm not doing this with the intent to do something for the fans. I am doing this naturally and organically because I am simply a fan myself, a huge fan. And I feel like I've been in this world of Star Wars fandom long enough. I've seen it come. I've seen it go. I've seen it come again. I've kind of seen it go again. It's always going to be a part of my life. Like I mentioned on the last episode when I talked to the Kenner guys, producer brother Brian has been a big inspiration to the show as well. He was there during those days before this became a Patreon thing. Obviously, with just the Mocktail Season 1 YouTube show. Producer Cody Moore, I met him down in Nashville. He's been producing the show for a long time. I will say that brother David Gladding down in Florida, I would say that he's probably a pretty good example. Well, Andy from Miami as well. Those are people, good examples of that I have become friends with over this show. Might as well add Cody Moore to it as well, because I had met him in Nashville 2 years ago. He jumped on as a producer. If he never jumped on as a producer, I probably would have lost touch with him simply because life just gets in the way and we get busy with things. And I know a lot of you guys have your own shows as well. Dan and Ian. Obviously, Dale has his thing now. John Drake has the Nerf Herder Council. So you guys have, Brian Klein gave us a long fucking list of everything that he's involved in. So I encourage you guys to listen to those programs as well. And one takeaway from your greetings, aside from a lot of people had mentioned community, a lot of people had mentioned it's a good way for them to keep up with my day-to-day life. One of the things that I took away is that I know Star Wars has become a toxic and negative thing as of late. And obviously a lot of you people feel like this is a safe place. And we don't find that very often. And I think that's why I do want to keep the show small. If I had 2,000 people that were supporting this on Patreon, yes, I'd be able to put a lot of money in my pocket. But I don't believe I would have made it to 200 episodes because of all the toxicity and all the drama that comes along with that. So, like Brandon said, let's grow the show one at a time, if that's what it takes. But I think you guys, it takes the right of you. You guys listening to the show, supporting the show, you guys are the ones that are not spreading the toxicity, that are looking for a more Zen-like, peaceful state of fandom, if you will. Big shout out to Sharon Sandoval. She's been supporting me since the days of The Force Among Us. Our only female Patreon supporter. We've come close. We got a couple free ones hanging out, but obviously Sharon is the only female supporter. And as you know, this show is not like a male testosterone-driven podcast show by any means. I don't believe it would be a safe place if it was. And I've talked about that on several episodes ago. So what is your favorite podcast episode? Do you have one? Have you had a chance to listen to all of them? Brother John J. Canaro, too, he kind of kept this thing going for me in the beginning, very much like Brother Barry Harmon did. John had said that out of all the podcast shows that he listens to, he bumps mine up to the top. And God, I think there's like something like 900 fucking podcast shows based around Star Wars. 900? It could be less. It might be more. But there are a lot. Maybe too many? How do you listen to them all? Everybody's competing and fighting for time and support. And I've been very, very fortunate that I've only really lost one supporter because, he was getting very toxic about Obi-Wan and the Kenobi series, and I was very outspoken about that, and he liked the show, but then when I told him, how I felt about the people not supporting that wonderful show, it cost me a member. It cost me a member. And last but not least, Dan makes a very, very good point. And I kind of want to end the 200th episode on this note. Dan had mentioned something along the lines like, Mocktails from the Cantina is one of those projects, one of those campaigns that can go on and on and on and on forever. As long as I keep experiencing things, as long as my memory serves me well, as long as I'm alive, there is always something to share and always something to talk about. I am constantly writing down notes. I am constantly, I feel a little guilty. Maybe I think about the content, creating the content for this show a little too much. Sometimes I feel like it takes up my free time. Like when I'm driving in the car, I'm always thinking about what can I give you guys next? But the whole spread of content that I've created as a fan, The Force Among Us was the first one. Fell out of love with it rather quickly. That burning desire and a handful of years to make the second one. Then moving on to the real fans and kind of failing with that project. One, not finishing it yet. And two, it was just very, very complicated to get every Star Wars thought and every Star Wars point across, that when I started doing this show, I realized now overall, not just the podcast episode, but overall, the Wampa Cave was a place for me to stay in tune and connected to my Star Wars collectibles. Inside the Vault, where, it's a segment on this show that lets me use the footage that we did not use in the documentaries. Tell the stories that were not told. And then, of course, the podcast episode gets all my music, baseball, and Star Wars thoughts out from an audio point on a weekly basis. And then the bonus videos and the photos. Again, the photos, that was an idea that John Zancanaro had given to me. And I believe I'm on like 350 photos now with stories. Why share all that shit on Facebook when you guys are paying for it? Right? Well, how does the saying go? Why buy the cow when you get the milk for free? I want to keep it here. I want to keep it for you guys. I want to keep the quality content behind the paywall. For those of you that have been believing in this show, those of you that have been enjoying this show, and those of you that are looking forward to what is to come, and I have some different, fresh ideas that I can use in the third and final season of this show. But again, Mocktails from the Cantina has been one of those platforms that have helped me continue to and get my thoughts and feelings out and across to an audience, as opposed to, all the shit that I've done being lost in the shuffle. And it's a lot easier to do this show than it is to keep calling up my brother Ian Basic saying, hey, we got to shoot this, we got to shoot that, we got to shoot this. Again, there are pros and cons to working by myself most of the time. But I will tell you that I would not be able to do this without you guys. Because you guys make it rock, and I make it roll, and together, that is what I believe makes this a community. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will catch you guys next time on another episode of Mocktails from the Cantina, another round, the podcast edition of this show. Lots and lots and lots of celebrity interviews from Nashville that are probably going to take several episodes. So before you know it, we'll be on episode number 210. So long, everybody.